Welcome back to the channel, y'all. It is the Wild West of real estate. Welcome to 2024. So if you have not already heard what's going on with the real estate market, I just wanted to pop in and just hopefully give a little bit of perspective on what these changes can mean. If you have not heard, basically what there was a lawsuit that a number of companies were sued, like Keller Williams and things like that, indicating, I'm not going to go into all the details of this because there's tons of content out there, but basically indicating that now there's a proposal on the table that real estate commissions are decoupled, meaning prior it was the listing agent that would negotiate a commission for the seller, and that commission was then split between the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. Well, now what they've done in terms of decoupling the commission is that no longer will the listing agent negotiate for the buyer's agent in terms of any compensation that they might be entitled to for bringing a buyer to purchase the property. It would be incumbent on that buyer's agent to negotiate their own commission at the time of presenting an offer. And so that's a big one. The other thing is that now what's on the table is that in order for a buyer's agent to work with a client, they would have to have a contract in place. So up until this point, it's been kind of a handshake agreement. You meet a realtor and you say, hey, I'm looking for a home. They say, great. What are you looking for? They get all the details of the home. They connect you with a lender potentially if you haven't already been pre-approved. And then they jump in the car and you're out showing homes. It's been a handshake thing where we assume that based on you jumping in the car and meeting us at properties, that you are going to work with us as a result of the activities of helping you get qualified and showing you homes. No longer is that going to be a handshake agreement. That's going to be what's going to be required is that a actual contract is signed. And so the details of that contract, how long the contract, that typically is always negotiable, but we don't know. So we will see what that looks like. But typically you would sign something saying, like, if I purchase a property in this span of time, then I will be responsible for paying XYZ real estate commission for the services that I'm getting. So there's so much going on that it's like we don't really know how this is going to play out in practice. And to be honest with you, I think the folks that put this, or NAR, I should say the folks, NAR that put this in place, I don't know that they fully and from a practical standpoint, this is, in my mind, this is significant. This is not just like, oh, we're just moving the commission off the MLS. That's not the case. Is that this, for a buyer, this absolutely changes the way that you go to market in terms of looking for a home, which means that one, you need to be very comfortable with who you're working with in terms of your, if you do decide to have an agent, which I recommend that you do, but if you do decide to have a buyer's agent that represents you in the transaction, then you just want to make sure that the person has some background in negotiation, because they're going to need to negotiate their fees in addition to your offer. So that's a big change. And again, we don't know how all this is going to shake out, but that's pretty significant. On the seller side of things, I think sellers always can negotiate the commission. So if that was always the case, you will continue to be able to do that. I think the question for sellers is going to be, do you want to participate in paying compensation for the buyer's agent? You don't have to, you never did. However, not doing that, I think you limit your pool of buyers that will come to show your property. Two things. I think it limits the pool of buyers that will show the property because obviously there's no commission being paid. And if the buyer's agent, especially a first-time home buyer, maybe they don't have tons of funds to be able to pay, then you're going to limit the pool of folks that are going to be able to see your home. The other thing that it does is because it could, we don't know for sure, but I could see it could potentially reduce the pool of folks to see your home. That means that properties stay on the market a little bit longer. And as it is, properties are staying on the market a little bit longer just because the interest rates are so high. As of the recording of this video, we're here March 21st of 2024, interest rates are about 7%. So they had started to go down a little bit. Fed just met, they didn't do anything with the banking rate. So interest rates are staying the same. They have still said though that the interest rates, that they're planning on reducing the banking rate this year. You're hoping that it's going to be in June. So that's the next time that they meet, right in time for the peak, normally the peak buying season. But right now we're in spring. Spring normally, we're officially in spring. Spring normally is when we start getting into the buying season. Things start getting a little bit more busy, a little bit more competition. But what I am seeing, at least in this North Dallas area, is properties are absolutely sitting on the market for longer periods of time. So now you couple that with, now you have a pool of buyers who either don't have an agent, so you don't know if they've been vetted or not, to if they can actually purchase the home, and B, you have fewer people showing the property because the buyer's agent is not going to be compensated for bringing the offer. So there's so much, and this is kind of a stream of consciousness, so forgive me if I'm rambling, but there's so much that this kind of impacts, not to mention VA buyers, which they're going to have to figure something out. There's just no way they can leave VA buyers out in the cold, because right now the way that it works is a VA buyer cannot pay commissions, period. The way that their loans work is that it's not even an option for them to pay. So if, based on the way this is currently structured, again, this is proposed, so this has not been signed off on or anything, but the way it's currently structured, if you're a VA buyer, then you pretty much have to go to the listing agent to submit an offer, which means you don't have the option of having any representation. So I just can't see that being the case. You're going to have to do something pretty quick, just to make sure that if a VA buyer chooses to have representation in their real estate transaction, that they should be able to do that. It's not to say that a listing agent is not going to do a good job of representing a buyer, but the issue there is when you take a listing, so when I take a listing, I sign in my contract, it says that my fiduciary duty is to the seller, meaning everything that the proper way to execute the listing, my fidelity, that's a better way to say it. My fidelity, my loyalty is to the seller. And so nothing changes there. So if you go to a listing agent to ask them to present your offer to them, you can absolutely do that. But no, you should, and I'm sure there's going to be 5 or 6 more disclosures that come out around, hey, Mr. Buyer, you can absolutely go directly to the listing agent to ask them to submit your offer. Just know that the listing agent 100% represents the seller. So I think that what that's going to also mean is that as a buyer, you're going to really want to educate yourself about comps in the area, so that you're making an offer that's comfortable for you and comfortable for your budget, but also that's in alignment with what's going on in the area. That's typically what a buyer's agent would do. It's like, okay, here's the comps. Where do you want to come in? So really making sure you know kind of what other homes are selling that are comparable, are selling for in the area, so that you can make a strong offer, but not one that's completely over or way too low where you don't even get a response, right? The other thing too is, because you'll be dealing directly, if you decide to go without representation, you're going to be dealing directly with the listing agent. And so just kind of getting brushed up on negotiation skills and things like that, on how to basically understanding what is your bottom line. Like, in order, you like the house, excuse me, you're obviously, you obviously like the house, making an offer on the house. What is your bottom line? What is your absolute have to happen thing? So is it, I need closing costs? Is it, I need to close by a certain date? What are your kind of deal breakers? So that way, when you go in to submit that offer, and if you get a counter offer back, you kind of have some idea of how to work with that. So really kind of educating yourself on, and making sure that when you do plan to make an offer, if you're going directly with the listing agent, make sure that you let your lender know. A lot of times people don't know that. Like, you need to let your lender know, so that way they can check rates, because rates change on a daily basis. And so you don't want to assume like, oh, this is what they told me when I got my pre-approval 2-3 months ago. You want to go back to your lender, let them know, hey, I am preparing to make an offer. This is what I think my offer is going to be, just so that way they can help you with structuring how you want to present that offer to the listing agent. So I'll probably make another video around like kind of how to, maybe just some broad strokes, because again, this is also new. We don't know exactly how this is all going to play out. But I do think if you're someone that's like, hey, you know what, I'm not going to be able to have my own, based on these new rules, I'm not going to be able to have my own representation, but I don't want to go into a situation blind. What do I need to know? So I think it's as a real estate professional, I think it's a wise thing. I think it's the right thing to do, to make sure that at least give buyers some idea of what you need to prepare for and how to kind of move forward. So again, it's definitely a change, but I do think on the other end of this, whatever shakes out after whatever happens gets fully approved, I think everybody will just adjust. And we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I do think here's what I know for sure: people will still buy, people will still sell homes, period. The manner and the method by which they do that's going to change a little bit, but I do think that at the end of the day, folks will still be able to do what they need to do. They just do it slightly differently. So I just wanted to, again, pop in because it's been all over the place. And so if this is the first you're hearing, welcome to the Wild West of real estate, 2024 style. So the next couple months are going to be interesting, but I think as the dust starts to settle a bit, then I think we will kind of settle into whatever the new norm is. And who knows, I think maybe on both sides, on the buyer and the seller side, I think maybe we might be in a situation where folks have even more options in terms of the method by which they purchase homes. And that's not a bad thing. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to stop rambling now, but just wanted to just give my take on it now that some of the dust is settled. You're going to hear tons of people talking about different things. And so it's going to be a very interesting couple of months. So anyway, if there's anything in the world that I can do for you, whether you're buying or selling real estate, please know I'm here to provide resource. That's what I do. I view myself as more of a real estate advisor. And so whether you choose to use me or not, I am here to provide you with resources so that you can make informed decisions. It's one of the biggest purchases most humans will ever make. And so I think it makes sense to do it with some wisdom. And so that's what I'm here to provide. So anyway, that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one.